My name is Athalia Letswalo, and this is Behind Cuts, Limpopo's very own #1 podcast in South Africa, telling stories one podcast at a time. This is episode 4 with Prince Makopa. Please stay tuned and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Ciao. Welcome to the podcast. It's still your girl Athalia Letswalo, and I'm with. But wait, what do you call you? Do I call you doctor or what's the title?
Mister.
I just call you Mister.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is Prince Makopa. He's a gospel singer. He looks more like one of those most album artists, but he's also a nuclear medicine technologist.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
Good, thanks. And how are you?
I'm well, thanks. So, for those of who don't know, like for the first time when I heard the term nuclear medicine technologist from the TV, I was shocked, and I'm pretty sure someone from the audience is listening to me and they're also shocked, May you please let everyone know what a nuclear medicine technologist is?
Okay. Interesting one. When you saying you were shocked, I'm not surprised because like everywhere I go, people ask themselves what that could be, more especially the nuclear part. How does it have to do with, medical field? People are thinking nuclear bombs, That's how it usually goes to people. But briefly, nuclear medicine is all about diagnosis. So what we do is we inject small amounts of radioactive material. So I think that's where the nuclear comes. So we use radiation to inject onto our patients, and then we come about the diagnosis. For example, let's say we have got a patient. This patient presents with symptoms, but they are not sure what could be happening to them. So according to how we have learned, whatever that you present will give us a picture of what we could try to look for. So say maybe you're having chest pains, but there could be a lot of anomalies associated with chest pain. So it could be heart problems, it could be lung problems, it could be liver, but we're not sure. So when we give that small amount of radioactive material, we can be able to take you through our scanners. We deal with scans mostly. So we can take you through the scanner, and then whatever that we've injected is going to trace where there's a problem, where there's a lesion, and then we can be able to tell what you are going through. There's also a little bit of therapy here and there. That's where we treat diseases. For example, thyroid cancer, we deal with that the most. Yeah. So there's a lot behind the field, but briefly it's more about diagnosis and a little bit of therapy.
Oh.
Yes.
So I heard you mention that you inject radioactive materials.
Yes.
What are those? What are radioactive materials or drugs?
So when we're talking about radioactive materials, it's something that was scientifically designed. Uh, there is natural radioactivity, but with time we got to design our own to favor just the field of what we do. Yes, so it's rays emitted now from what we inject. There are rays that are emitted towards the thingy, the machines that we use. So there is current there created for image formulation. Yeah, so when we inject now, we have what we call organ specific agents. So for example, you having a problem with your bone, then we are going to inject the tracer that is gonna be taken up by the bone tissue, so that we can be able to visualize, if there's a problem, there's a disease on that particular spot, we can be able to see. So now when we are talking radioactivity, we are talking the nucleus that is unstable, and then it tries to be stable by emitting rays. Those rays are the ones that now we talk radiation.
So basically, your job, how is it different from someone who works to deal with X-rays and everything?
Okay, with X-rays, so now I'm just gonna try and distinguish, X-ray from nuclear medicine.
Yeah.
So with X-rays, they are dealing mostly with the anatomy of a human being. So they are looking at the structure, but as well they are using radiation. But with X-ray now, the radiation is coming from their machines onto the patient, back into the machine. So with us, if I take you through our scan, we are not going to see anything until we inject. So there is no source of radiation from our equipment. We have to inject the small amount of radiation.
Oh, so
Yeah,
it's
so
that's what the radioactive
yes,
injection.
and then as said, they are dealing with the structure, and then we go deeper now to check the molecular level of, you know, your body, so we can analyze now the function of the organ other than just the structure of it. They'll check on your fractures. If there's a fracture, it's just gonna.
Precious.
We are taking now the maybe a broken bone, for example. Yeah, that's a fracture, and then X-ray is just gonna show it as it
As
is.
broken as it
But
is.
with us now, if we inject that, we can also see the blood flow of that on that particular area, of which now X-ray cannot be
So
able
the
to pick up.
details of what's really going
Yes,
on.
yes. But now the advantage with nuclear medicine is it's both the structure and the function.
Oh,
Yes. So if they fail to know if there are infections and things like that, we can go up to the level of
finding out everything that's going on.
yes.
Oh, that's pretty dope. Okay, let's imagine this. This is Prince, like a boy that's sitting at home and is like, I want to do something with my life. And he's like, let me do nuclear medicine technologist. How do you imagine such a career, man?
Um, coming to think of it, very interesting. Uh, when I was growing up, I actually had medicine, just medicine in my head. I wanted to be a medical doctor. So, but growing up again, I was like, you know what? Whatever life brings, but what I know is I want to be in the medical field. Even if I end up being a security guard in the hospital,
As long
I'm
as it's
gonna do
me.
that.
As long
Yeah,
as
I
it's
just wanted to work in a hospital. That's how I'm gonna put it.
yeah.
So I applied for medicine, I applied for dentistry, pharmacy, all those things. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for me. And I had to do a course that is just out of medical field, but for a year. And then now I look at the prospectus of University of Johannesburg, and I'm coming across this wonderful name, nuclear medicine.
And
I
it's
don't know
just,
anything about it at that
you
time.
know, you're like, what's this
Yeah, but then
now?
quick fast, I did my research and then I found it interesting. So it's not something that I always knew about or was informed about. I just came across the name and it was interesting. I did my quick research and then I was like, I can actually go for this.
So basically, like your marks were qualifying you. That's what pushed you
Yes,
into.
yes, yes,
Let me
yes.
go for this and see what's really going on.
Yeah, and the interesting part again is with that university, it was actually the first program. So we're the first group
That's
in
pretty
the field.
special.
Yes. So that was something really good.
Yeah. So on a scale of, let me say 1 to 100, or let me say 1 to 10, how many black students were in there?
Mm, let's give it an 8. So it's more black students than other
On a 10 or an 100?
on a 10.
On a 10 is
Yeah,
8.
yes.
Sounds
More black.
There was more black people, right?
Yes.
Where do you guys get this exposure?
As said, but one other thing that we need to check is uh, like by the time I was still studying it, we were a class of 11 first year.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's a very small group.
Yeah, that's small.
Yeah, so but then at around final year, then it filtered to 7. So it was a group of 7 that finished the course from 11. So yeah, it's more black, but in a very small group of students, because I think what leads to that is you cannot study such courses if you don't have the clinical practice. So it's practical that goes hand in hand with your theory. So you don't do the 4 year and then maybe have a year or a few months to do your practical. So they go together. What we used to do now is in a month, 2 weeks you are at the hospital, 2 weeks at the university. So that's how it works until you finish the course for 4 years. Yeah, so we have got a very few facilities in the country. So I know there's one in Dr. George Mukari, that's in Pretoria. There's one in Charlotte Masheke in Johannesburg, one in Steve Biko. So it's just three public practices in
Check it as
Gauteng.
a female, right?
Yeah, but that's the hospital's
That's the name of
name.
the hospital.
Yes.
Because I think I saw this other nuclear medicine business when I was doing my research. And I was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. So you can imagine it's just three facilities in in Gauteng, and they could take only maybe two students per hospital. So you can imagine where even if we apply being 100, where is this other students gonna go? So that's why now you find that it's a class of a very small group.
so they take two students annually.
Yeah, because imagine now, nuclear medicine on its own is a very small department, and then you find the qualified staff. Maybe there are already 10 technologists there, and then you still gonna take students. And now, if you are first, you are first year in 2011, for example, in 2014 you are fourth year, but you are still working in the same hospital as the student, and after you they are taking other students, so it becomes
Too much.
yeah. So unfortunately it remains small because we can't place other students because we don't have many departments.
So from your own perspective, how rare do you think this career is in South Africa?
I would render it a bit limited in terms of the take, because for as long as we don't build more departments of nuclear medicine, then yeah, because now we can talk about my experience in Limpopo already, because it's only one practice in the province, which is now in our tertiary hospital, that is our Polokwane Provincial Hospital. And I was the only technologist at some point in the province. So
That's your.
so you can imagine, and post also how it is. So yeah.
Damn, man. Like your story has gotten me interested. Like, I really want to know what kind of a kid you were when you were young. Were you a nerd? Were you outgoing? A freaking church goer? What kind of a kid were you?
Man, my childhood. Um, what I know about my childhood is I was that special kid, I would say. And the interesting part now is where I was brought up from. And many people don't know about it. I'm coming from Sharpeville. Yeah.
I knew
That's
it.
it. I know.
I did it.
A lot of people just knew me now,
Yeah.
this bloomed prince, and that's where I'm coming from. And you know how it is. Yes, well, it takes a village to, you
Right,
know,
yes. In my
but
opinion, sorry to get but in my opinion, I feel like that thing of you being special from your childhood and even now still kind of stands out because you're literally the only share medicine technologist that I know.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that special part
The only
about
one
you
to
as
ever
well.
come out of Zanin. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, I think on that point, uh, I'm consistent, and the motivations that come towards me just keep me going. So I was that child that got informed and I ran with it, you know. Difficult as it is, I'm just thankful because I mean that's grace. You know, there would be kids who are doing very well, but now when they grow, a lot of things change, and you know that's how life is. You know what happens in the background and all that. So I'm just thankful and grateful to God for keeping that, you know,
Yeah,
with me,
grace.
you know, running with it. What I said I wanted to be when I was young, and then you know, just went forward with
Keep on
it.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's grace on its own.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Did
yeah.
you even have friends at that
I
age?
did a lot of them. I still have a lot of them. I think like I have a big heart. I'm a people's person, you know. Yeah, I believe in having people around me, you know, where we just grow each other and yeah. So I did have a lot of friends, and it was interesting.
It
Yeah, I
was.
played a
That was
lot.
interesting.
You know, I played a lot. We've done a lot of things. I always say that I think I've done a lot of things when I was young than, you know,
When you're
yeah.
old
You
now.
know, now when you are with your now friends and you tell them that this, I've went through this already, and it's now that they're only experiencing that, like, when did you do that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
But it's better. I feel like it's better for you to experience it while you're young because
yeah,
then
yeah,
you get the freedom to
yeah,
do anything you want. You don't really have to stress about anything.
true there.
Than now because
Yeah,
you can't do something stupid because you're immature. People will be like,
yeah,
bro, you're old and
yeah,
you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So don't you have any childhood pain that you've dealt with or you still dealing with as you're growing? So far.
What would I say? There's nothing that is coming to my mind in terms of pain. I think whatever that happened was just your normal pain, you know, because there's nothing big that I could actually pinpoint and say, yo, this really got me down. So no, I don't
You
think.
were really fortunate because there's a
Yeah,
lot of people that come across really big pains and traumas, and
yeah.
some don't even know how to address
No,
that.
I
So
just
they,
grew up in an amazing family, very supportive, very
yeah,
kind, loving. So, in terms of family, I haven't experienced anything, you know, that tragic. And where I was brought up as well, nothing that we could actually pinpoint and say this was really hard on me.
in this harsh life, what is that one thing that keeps you motivated every single day? Every time you feel like you don't have the energy or you don't want to do this, but you have to keep going. That one thing that just
Simple. I've learned that if you don't do it for yourself, no one is going to do it.
one is gonna do it.
Yeah, like people are busy, people are focusing on themselves. You also have to focus on yourself. So I have to eat. There's a life that I should maintain, you know.
Yeah,
So that just keeps me going because I'm doing it for myself.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Even in your career, you just tell yourself that.
Yeah, yeah. So because now I'm remembering, you know, how fluctuating life could be.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's just that point where you just go slow and things like that. But there keeps on coming motivation. I remember someone once asked me that I was still in high school, I think, and then they were like, do you ever get to think that if you were to lose your parent or things like that, how would your life be, you know? So it's some of the things that kept me going because I have to sit down, really think, hey, this is the source of everything that I have at the moment.
yeah,
Well, if they were to just pass, what would happen to me, you know? And that's where you push even harder to say, hey, it's gonna get hectic, you
yeah.
know? So yeah.
I hope you guys are taking notes because this man is speaking some real sense. So I get your point because there's certain times where you have to sit down and think because I'm really dependent on my parents.
Yes,
So you
yes.
have to ask yourself, what happens if that,
Yes, yes,
who's gonna
because
be with me? What
anything
am I
can
gonna
happen at
do?
any time.
You
Yeah.
can't, time is unpredictable and death is unpredictable and person's home. You will never know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny how we think we have time and anything can just happen at any time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're busy thinking about life, you enjoying life and everything. Then boom,
Yeah.
the good moment gets in. Mudimo call. Did
Okay.
you compose it? Were you the
I
one who wrote it? Because I
did.
know your
I did
songwriter. Somebody that
100%.
wrote
I
it.
did 100%. Yeah. So I just don't remember how it came about, but one thing with me, I don't just sit down and then have a pen, a paper and write. I get a melody in my mind and then I record. So I'll be having my phone at that particular moment. So whatever the sound that comes off my mouth, I'm just gonna be, you know, recording. And then definitely it wouldn't make sense as it's gonna do at the time of recording it. But the piece that I have now is what I'm gonna be working with until we produce. So yeah, I just thought, man, let me, it's I feel like it's important to just know your roots, you can be diverse as you want, you can spread your wings, do anything, but just the beginning part of it, I thought, let me just do it, come my home language straight to Kolobedi, not even Sepedi or something like that. Yeah, so it was one beautiful sound, you know when it hits you first, when it blesses you first, that's when I knew that it's actually an amazing song and it could do the same to the public,
Yeah, if you don't love it, then how do you
Yes,
expect
yes.
other people to
So
love
that was really my first love in terms of, I've written a lot of songs that are still in the cage, but I'll release them soon enough because, yeah, I'm about to work on a new project. And yeah, so Mudimo Corner happened and it went out there. Funny enough, it wasn't on all musical platforms, but it's everywhere, you
Yeah,
know.
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And we're still gonna work on it. We're still gonna work on it powerfully so this time around.
On the song.
Yes. Yes,
So you guys still want it to be on
coming,
all
it's
different
coming back,
platforms
it's
then?
coming back. It's just gonna be something else.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
I'm also excited.
So now you've composed the song,
Yes.
people are loving it. Everyone is going crazy, right? But did it change anything about you?
Yeah, it did actually. I had a conversation with the other artist some time back. So we were just discussing. By that time, we were just saying the torture that comes with the lyrical content of the song that we compose. Because now, if you are singing a song about don't give up,
Yeah,
it's gonna have
hey.
to deal with you first, you know. Yeah, you have to just follow, the message that you are trying to send to the
Yes.
public from the piece that we have composed. So it did change because now I have to always revisit and say, but I've said Gumudimo Kona, Azanga Federal. So I have to stay knowing that in everything that I do, even if it seems like, how life could be,
Yeah.
like, God, where are you at times? But I have to stay knowing because, that came out of my heart and with what I have experienced,
Yes.
so yeah, and emotionally as well, because now you get to a point of like, did I really do this? Now it's touching a lot of souls out there.
And it's
When
working.
someone wins, they post that as their testimony, and it's what came out of your heart. So it really has that impact, to say, really, really, these people are recoding, what I originally came with.
Yes.
So it's really that impactful.
I get you, because
Yes.
whatever you send out there, it means you also have to believe it. Imagine
Yes.
someone's posting a video and they're like, Mudimu wow code, and you're
Yes.
looking at it like you depressed, and it's like, isn't this the same person who came with this
Exactly,
message? What's
exactly.
going on
Yes,
now?
that's what I'm trying to say.
So who's the guy who won Idols 2022? Raro took a collaboration, yeah. Napela, he's a friend, right?
Yes, he's my friend, and the beautiful part, we just came out of Mudimo Corner, and he did the tenor part of the song. Yeah, that was in 2016. Tapelo did tenor in the song. So
Wait,
the
I
backing
don't think I'm getting you. He did the third in the song.
Yes. So he's one of the backing vocalists of Modimo Okon. Interesting part.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, and one other thing is I've written a lot of songs recently, and we've been talking about them. So hopefully there's gonna be that
Hopefully
collaboration.
that collaboration that we're expecting is going to be
Yes,
there.
yes, yes,
Yeah, that's dope. His name is Tapelo Muloma, right?
yes.
But how did you guys get so close?
How did it start? Okay, he came to one of the churches around Lenin Assemblies of God. So I was singing there. He had come with Minister Lufuno Dagada, and then he was backing him. So I sang powerfully, and then he just couldn't, help it. He approached me, and we spoke, took pictures, and that's where it all started. Then when I moved to Johannesburg, because now he was staying in Tembisa at the time. So musically, we just came that close. And then when I was going to do the song, I told him, looking for advices. One thing about Tapelo, he will advise you. He will teach you the things of the industry because he's been in it. He's been to Spirit of Praise. So he's worked with Benjamin Dube and things like that. So he's one of those people that will inform you. Don't do this, do that, do that, do that, because we have learned the hard way. So that's how it was, and then we started attending more of his shows. When people are frequent in support, then you just have to have that relationship.
Yeah,
You know.
definitely.
So yeah, that's how it all.
So the time you
started.
guys met, was he already famous or that time he was still auditioning and everything?
You mean Tapelo?
Yeah.
I think it just depends on the depth of how you follow a particular genre. So I've been following gospel music that much that I get to know people that
Before they even know. Yeah,
yeah.
they
So
even
to me, he always was famous because if I see someone in Spirit of Praise, it's a big group. To me, it's like okay, you have made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very dope.
Yes.
So, how do you manage your gospel singing life and your career at the same time?
Okay. So there was a point where I think everything running together was actually just too much because it was also noticed on my varsity days when a particular lecturer approached me. I was like, hey, bruh, the performance is dropping, and we know you love music because I used to gig a lot. I'm in Johannesburg, but almost every weekend I'm in Limpopo doing music. Monday is a test, your examination, things like that. So it was affecting that a little bit. If you know who you are and how you usually perform. So they were like, just a word of advice would say, just reduce music for a moment, finish up, and then you can do that for the rest of your life having your papers. So I think from that time, when I had to go to the real world of work as well, there was too much focus on the career field other than music. And it's now that I'm reconsidering coming back because I'm anchored now in the field of work, and I feel like I can manage.
So, it did contradict back then with your schoolwork.
Yeah, you had that balance. You couldn't, perform
Yes.
excellently in the other field, and in both. So they had to just
Like they balance
yes,
because if you're
yes,
doing two things at the same time and you
yes,
can't
yes.
balance,
But when
one
someone knows
definitely
your
is going to.
potential, then they would notice or hi man.
There's something wrong here.
Yeah. So it had to be a matter of priorities at that particular moment, and then knowing that you can always do another afterwards, which
Yeah.
is where we are going now.
So you think you're gonna be able to balance it right now?
Definitely.
How?
Definitely. Because initially when you enter into the field, there's still a lot of pressure that you should, deal with. You are getting exposed to, new colleagues. You
Yes.
still need to, get used to the environment. There's still a lot that you are learning because it's the entry level for you. So I feel like when you are practicing something and it ends up being part of you in a way that you no longer see that you are learning. You know,
No, serious.
you are over. How do I put it? For example, you come in and you have to talk to the patient. You know, at the entry level of it, it's still you practicing. You're still having those nerves and everything. But as it goes, it becomes part of you. You're no longer seeing that you are working. It's
Yeah,
just you releasing. You get
I
what I mean?
get you.
So at that time, I feel like I needed to focus on such things to know that I'm anchored in the field and could focus on other things. So now it's just part of me. It's just me waking up, making food, eating, you know.
Yeah.
So I can still do other things.
So, how many hours do you work in a week?
How many? Around 40. But it's not always the case. I mean, it's according to the contract.
Then in a day?
In a day, it has to be your 8 hours. Yeah, but it just depends because now I've moved from, I didn't mention it, I've moved from the public sector. I'm working in private. So we've got another department, nuclear medicine in Polokwane, the private one. So my work is not that demanding in terms
It's
of
not
time.
heavy.
Yeah, so you
You
just go
just
do what you do. When you are done, you leave.
leave. Oh, that's that's proper, man.
Yeah. So there's no fixed hours that I could actually but according to contract now it has to be 8 hours. But sometimes you can even work 2 hours and leave.
True.
Sometimes you can go beyond the 8 hours. So it just depends.
But the salary stays the same. Okay, so with everything that's going on, does a girl ever fit into your lifestyle? Like, does
In terms
literally,
of your relationship, yes,
yeah.
definitely.
Oh,
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's part of life. It's part of growing up. We get to
oh, so there is someone.
that. I don't know.
There's no way, there is someone.
Well, how do I put it? I think at some just do you pamper you, and yeah, I've done that, and then there was just a peak of trouble in that, and I was like, you know what, let's break a little bit, and so there's just that kind of a flow going on, but yeah.
So the graph is like, okay, so will you be relating soon? Any wedding plans, Yana?
I think now that has to do with the age. I've said that according to age. You say when I reach this, then I think I can consider. So at the moment, I'm not thinking of it. I'll be honest. I'm looking at these high divorce rates. So I get more interested. What could be the cause. And I'm at the point of learning a lot from that. I do ask people, those that are divorced, those that are in it, how is it? I know there could never be a memo behind how a relationship has to go.
Yeah, never.
People are different, and how you do things, how you were brought up contributes a lot to that. So you can never really take it 100% from another couple. There could be a different story with you and your person, but I mean, some things are very common,
Yeah, I get you.
that gets you interested to know.
What's
So I
really
mean,
the
yeah,
cause
I'm
of
at a
this and
point
everything?
where I want to know how I'm actually gonna overcome that, because I don't want to go in and come out. Yeah, my belief about marriage is me going in to stay. So yeah, I'm still at that point. So no marriage, not now.
Before I forget this, I've seen a post while me and my team were doing research.
Okay.
I saw it on your wall on Facebook.
Yes.
And I really want to know how accurate is it. Can a person really live without balls?
Yeah, definitely. Person can live without balls, because now the main function of your testicles is to produce sperm and testosterone. So testosterone has to do with the manhood part of it. So sperms has to do with now reproduction. So we can live off the organs, but they are just gonna be things that are not gonna happen. So you can't have babies, number one, and
That's
now
right.
your sexual drive is affected.
So I saw that the oldest that you've treated was 28 years old.
Yeah.
28.
So yeah, in nuclear medicine, what we do now, um, we do what we call testicular scan. So mostly the indications would be what we call your testicular torsion. We also have what we call epididymitis. So epididymitis now has to do with the inflammation of your spermatic ducts. So they could be inflamed, and also we just want to rule out, testicular torsion. The testicular torsion now is when your spermatic ducts twist and there's no longer blood flow into your balls. So usually those are the indications, but also we have patients that have unsuspended balls, so which means they are now staying in your inguinal area, so not in the sac or maybe even in the abdomen. So they don't descend maybe during birth and things like that. But we've learned that even when it's the case, some completely don't have because we can't even pick up in the abdomen or the inguinal area. So yeah, there was a case of a 20-year-old, and it wasn't really clear when we interviewed him. Like, to him, it sounded more like that was normal all along, you know. And we were very interested. But when you guys playing, were you guys talking about it, maybe with your peers or something like that, Yeah. But also, you are 28. Where was school? We read about these things, we
Exactly.
see
That's
them
my
on,
question. This person, when you're doing LO, don't you see that you're
Yeah,
supposed to have
so
little?
it was a bit confusing, but we had the case. I mean, you will always see new things when you work in such fields.
But what did the parents say? Couldn't she see when he was young and she's bathing him that this child is not normal? He doesn't have balls. Couldn't she see that?
Yeah, one thing, but I didn't even go to the depth
Deep
of it to
into that,
ask
yeah.
where he was brought up, how, by who. Yeah, but I think some parents, because also if it gets to a 10-year-old as well, of which I had, where they couldn't pick up on time. I mean, if you get to 10, there was some form of ignorance there. Yeah, so it's advisable that we do check our kids in such areas. Yeah, just make sure that your kid is complete. And one other thing, there's also ultrasound.
Ultrasound.
Yeah, so it's advisable that pregnant women just go through these scans because doctors can actually pick that up.
From the pregnant.
Yeah, so when it gets to such ages, it's questionable, but it happens. We come across that.
Parents, I hope you guys are listening because wow, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
problem. But you kind of got me scared because you're like this ultrasound. I'm like, a normal person can use that. Then you mentioned pregnant women. I was like, oh yeah, I get your
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
This is a question we ask almost everyone, right? We make sure they don't leave the show without answering this one.
Okay.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
An advice to my younger self uh, would be more about, set goals, and those goals should be timely because, running without direction
It's not
is,
safe. It's not safe at all.
yeah. So when you set goals for all the things that you want to do, please do that and then let it be timely to know that, when I reach here, this is what I want to have achieved and things like that. Yeah, it's very helpful. That's the advice I would give to myself, and be persistent with it because, I mean, in persistency, there's that fall and rises, and that's where you gain wisdom, experience of this is what I've done wrong, this is how I can rectify it. Yeah, so it's basically that.
we're not only giving this advice to his younger self, we're also giving it to you right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But before we leave, can you please do us one favor? Just one major favor. Can you
what
please
is
sing
coming?
one verse from Mudimu Okona? Let's hear it.
My voice. Okay. Kimudimo wa ukona azanga afetu. Kimudimo wa ukona unkone delina. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, so any future expectations from you?
Bruh, millions.
Millions.
Millions, please. I'm not gonna stop. That's where I have to get.
Keep on
So I
innovating.
expect that from myself. I have to make it big, like no average.
You owe that to yourself.
Yes.
I actually enjoyed having you here. I'm pretty sure everyone did. That's it for today, you guys, with Prince Makopa, and we're out.